Can you hear me? Okay, can you see the slides? Okay. Okay. So shall we start? Or should we wait for some student to join?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes, then inshallah I'll start. Today the topic is, congestion, hyperemia and hemorrhage. Okay, so today the topic is congestion, hyperemia and hemorrhage. So today we are going to see this topic. Okay, so this is the lecture. So what are the hemodynamic disturbances? Okay, what do you mean by hemodynamic disturbances? Hemodynamic disturbances means what is the disturbance in the blood? What is in the blood? What is happening? Okay, so it is so it is hyperemia and congestion. Yeah.
Can you recording this lecture?
I will not be able to record because it will be difficult for me. Okay.
Okay.
So see, hemodynamic disturbances. Okay, it is a disturbances happening in the blood. Okay. So today we are going to see 3 disturbances, that is hyperemia, congestion, and hemorrhage. Then thrombosis will be covered by Dr. Sauda. Embolism again I will cover. Then infarction also I will cover. Edema, gangrene, and shock. So all these are the hemodynamic disturbances. So today we are going to see hyperemia, congestion, and hemorrhage. So what is hyperemia and congestion? Okay, what is hyperemia and congestion? Hyperemia means there is increase in the volume of the blood. Okay, whenever there is increase in the volume of the blood in a particular tissue or an organ, so in the organ or in the tissue there is increased volume of blood, that is called as hyperemia and congestion. Now what is the difference between hyperemia and congestion? Hyperemia is, it is arterial blood, and congestion it is venous blood. Okay, so hyperemia it is an active process and it results from increased blood flow in the tissue due to arteriolar dilatation. So in hyperemia, the blood which is collected in the tissue, it is arterial blood. So arterial blood is which blood? Oxygenated or deoxygenated? Which blood? Yes?
Oxygenated.
Yes, oxygenated. So, hyperemia, the tissue will have oxygenated blood, arterial blood in the tissue. That is called as hyperemia. And it is mostly due to arteriolar dilatation. And congestion, congestion, when the venous blood collects in the tissue. When the venous blood collects in the tissue, it is a passive process. When the venous blood collects in the tissue, it is called as congestion. And it is due to venous obstruction. Okay. Now, see, I will explain you with the help of this diagram. So, you will come to know easily. Now, see. Whenever in our body, this is the mechanism. The aorta pumps the blood and it will divide into many branches, arteriole, and here is the organ. Here is the organ or the tissue. This is the area of the organ of the tissue. Suppose the liver or lung or any other organ. So what will happen? This arterial blood, it will supply the organ. Okay, the oxygenated blood will supply the organ. The organ will use this oxygen. And it will give the deoxygenated blood, and it will be carried into the vein and then into the inferior vena cava and then into the right side of the heart to be oxygenated by in the lungs. So this is the mechanism. Okay, so this is the capillary network. Okay, this is called the capillary network. The oxygenated blood comes here. It gives to the tissue, and the deoxygenated blood goes through the vein. So this is a normal mechanism. Now, what happens in hyperemia? Hyperemia, see this, what happened, there is dilatation of these arteries and the arteriole. Here you can see there is a dilatation of these arterioles and the arteriole. So what will happen if there is arteriolar dilatation? There will be increased arterial blood. There will be increased arterial blood into the tissue. You can see there is increased oxygenated blood in the tissue, and this is called as hyperemia. Okay, so what is collecting in the tissue? It is the oxygenated blood or the arterial blood which is collecting in the tissue due to arteriolar dilatation, and oxygenated blood will be collecting in the tissue. This is called as hyperemia, and it happens in exercise. Whenever we do exercise, the arterioles dilate, and the muscles and everything, they will get oxygenated blood more. So the hyperemia. Also in inflammation, you have learned inflammation. The most important feature of inflammation, what will happen to the blood vessels? They dilate, right? Okay. So the blood vessels, they dilate. So what will happen to in inflammation also? The arterial blood will, arterioles will dilate, and oxygenated blood will go to the tissue. So this is the hyperemia. So you should remember hyperemia, there is arteriolar dilatation and increased arterial blood or oxygenated blood to the tissue. This is hyperemia. Now coming to congestion. Congestion, what happens? I told you congestion, there is collection of venous blood now. Why venous blood will collect? First, because of here there is obstruction. Okay, sometimes there is obstruction or sometimes heart failure. These are the two causes why the venous blood will collect in the tissue. First, why heart failure? Because if there is heart failure, the heart will not pump the blood into the aorta. The aorta will not carry the blood to the arterioles, and there will be less oxygenated blood coming into the arterioles. Understood? So what will happen? Less blood is coming to the arteriole because the heart is not pumping. Okay, because the heart is only not pumping. So what will happen? The arterial blood is not coming, and all the venous blood only will collect in the tissue. Secondly, if there is obstruction here, if there is obstruction to the veins, okay, if there is obstruction to the vein, what will happen? The venous blood is not going outside. The venous blood is not going in, to the inferior vena cava. So what will happen if there is obstruction? The venous blood will collect in the tissue, and this will cause congestion, that is deoxygenated blood collection in the tissue or venous blood collection in the tissue, and this is called as congestion. Okay. So congestion happens due to heart failure because the heart is not pumping arterial blood to the tissue, and secondly due to obstruction of the veins, and hyperemia due to arteriolar dilatation. So all of you understood this one, hyperemia and congestion? Yes or no?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So if you're not understanding, you should tell me. Okay. So now we will come to the other this one. Examples of hyperemia. Okay, examples of hyperemia. So hyperemia is the collection of oxygenated blood in the tissue. So it can happen in inflammation. Okay, inflammation because there is arteriolar dilatation. Then there will be blushing. Blushing means whenever there is adrenal stimulation. Whenever there is sympathetic stimulation, that is called the blushing. Sometimes so that is called as there also there will be vasodilatation, and the arterial blood will be collected in the tissue. Exercise, what will happen? There is a vasodilatation in the muscles and the other tissue, and because of vasodilatation, arterial blood will be increased in the muscle. So in exercise, so you should remember where does hyperemia occur? It occurs either in inflammation, okay, or in exercise. So these are two important causes: inflammation and exercise. And congestion, I told you, congestion, there are two important causes. First, there is heart failure. Heart failure because the heart is not pumping the blood, arterial blood is not coming to the tissue, and only the venous blood is collecting in the tissue, and obstruction to the vein due to thrombi. Thrombi we will learn, you will learn in the next, what is the thrombus in the next lecture. So obstruction of the veins and the heart failure, this will cause congestion. So you should remember these are the two important causes of hyperemia: inflammation and exercise, and two important causes of congestion: obstruction of the veins and heart failure. Now see hyperemia and pneumonia. Okay, if you see hyperemia and pneumonia, see, pneumonia is an infection, right? Pneumonia is the infection of the lung. So whenever there is infection, whenever there is any infection, there is, wait, someone is coming in. Okay, whenever there is any infection in the lung, there is inflammation. Okay, whenever there is infection, there is inflammation, and whenever there is inflammation, the arterioles will dilate. There will be vasodilatation. So you can see this is the lung. These are the alveoli. Okay, these are the alveoli. These are all the alveoli, and these are the inflammatory cells which are collecting in the alveoli. You can see the inflammatory cells are collecting in the alveoli, and because there is inflammation, all the blood vessels, arterial blood vessels, will dilate. You can see all the blood vessels are dilating, and this red color. This red color is the blood. That is the red blood cells. Okay, so all this red color is the blood vessels. So the blood vessels are collecting, and it is arterial blood. Okay, so this is the hyperemia in case of pneumonia, because all the arterial blood vessels are dilating, and the collection of arterial blood in the lungs. So this is hyperemia. Then what is happening? Who is? Someone is joining. Have everyone joined, or there is problem in joining? Okay. Now classification of congestion. Okay, classification of congestion. It can be acute and chronic congestion. I told you the most important cause of congestion is heart failure. Why heart failure? Because the heart is not pumping the blood, the arterial blood is not coming into the tissue, and only the venous blood will collect in the tissue. That's why in the heart failure there is congestion. Now there are other types of other causes of congestion also, like venous ligation. When we for injection, when you will go to the hospital, you will learn that for injection we ligate the vein, we close the veins. Okay, we obstruct the veins. So whenever we obstruct the vein, also there will be congestion. Okay, pathological congestion will be intestinal strangulation. Intestinal strangulation means, okay, intestinal strangulation means the intestine get twisted. The intestines, they are getting twisted. Okay, and when the intestine get twisted, the blood vessel also the veins also get twisted, and they will strangulate, and there will be obstruction to the vein. So there will be venous congestion. Strangulation, the intestine gets twisted, and the veins also get twisted, and they will be obstructed. Then in pregnancy also, in pregnancy there is congestion. This is LL means lower limb. Okay, LL means lower limb. So in lower limb also there is congestion in pregnancy. Why? Because in pregnancy there is a uterus is enlarged. There is a baby inside the uterus, and the fetus will be in the uterus. The uterus will enlarge, and the uterus will compress the inferior vena cava. Okay, and if the inferior vena cava is compressed, the blood vessel, the venous blood will not flow from the Okay, so if in pregnancy the uterus will compress the inferior vena cava, and the inferior vena cava, the blood will not be going into the inferior vena cava up. So the blood will collect in the lower limb because the uterus will obstruct the inferior vena cava. So in the lower limb during pregnancy, the lower limb will have congestion. Okay, pregnancy. Also in varicose veins. Varicose veins means the veins will be in the lower limb will be dilated, and the blood will collect in the veins only. It will not go up into the inferior vena cava. So in that case also, in the lower limb, there will be congestion, deoxygenated blood in the leg. Okay, and also in the lungs, if there is heart failure, the blood will not go into the aorta. It will collect behind inside the lungs. So that is the congestion. So hyperemia and congestion, as I told you, hyperemia, it contains arterial blood. So it will contain oxygenated blood. Okay, it will contain oxygenated blood. So if it contains oxygenated blood, the tissue in that case, it will appear bright red and warm. Okay, that's why you can see in inflammation that the tissue will appear, that area will appear red and warm. Okay, that is one of the signs of inflammation. That is the red color and heat. Heat and red color and warmness. Okay, redness and warmness, hotness. So because there is oxygenated blood. So oxygenated blood, if collects in the tissue, hyperemia, the tissue will appear bright red and warm. Whereas in congestion, the congested tissue has deoxygenated blood. It has venous blood. So venous blood is blue in color. So that tissue will appear bluish in color, and it will appear cold and clammy. So this is the difference between hyperemia. Hyperemia tissue has oxygenated blood, and the tissue will be red and warm. And congestion, the tissue has deoxygenated blood, so the tissue will be bluish in color, and it will be cold and clammy. Now the mechanism, heart failure. The heart failure, heart has four chambers. Okay, the right ventricle, the right atrium, the left ventricle, and the left ventricle. So the left side of the heart, it pumps the blood where? Can you tell me left side of the heart pumps blood where? Yes? Any of you? Okay. So the left side of the heart. Okay. So the left side of the heart, it pumps the blood into the aorta. Okay. So if the left heart is not functioning properly, if the left side of the heart is not functioning properly, the blood will collect back into the lungs. Okay, and there will be pressure into the lungs, and there will be congestion of the lungs. Okay, so if the left heart failure, the blood is not going into the aorta, it will collect inside the lung, and there will be chronic venous congestion of the lungs. Right side heart failure, it pumps the blood into the lungs. So when the right side fails, the blood will not go into the lung, but it will collect back into the inferior vena cava and into the other organs like the liver, the spleen, and the kidney. So you should remember the left side of the heart, the blood will collect in the lungs, and if right side fails, the blood will collect in the liver, spleen, and the kidney. Now, chronic venous congestion. Okay, if there is long standing, if there is accumulation of deoxygenated blood in the tissue for a long time. Okay, if there is a collection of deoxygenated blood in the tissue for a long time, it is called the chronic venous congestion. So chronic vision congestion of the lung, as I told you, in the lung, if there is left side heart failure, okay, if there is left sided heart failure, the left side of the heart fails, it will not pump the blood into the aorta, and all the blood will collect back into the lungs. And therefore, the most important cause of chronic venous congestion of the lung, it is the left heart failure. Okay, and you know what will happen to the lungs? The lungs will be congested and they will appear heavy because a lot of blood is collecting inside the lung. The lung will be heavy and they will appear brownish in color because it is deoxygenated blood. So it will appear slightly bluish or brownish in color, and it is called the brown induration of the lungs. Okay. And if you see the microscopy, because the blood vessels are congested, you know, lot of deoxygenated blood is collected in the pulmonary blood vessel, in the blood vessels of the lung. So what will happen ultimately, if the blood vessel is too much of blood in the blood vessel, it will rupture and there will be hemorrhage. Okay, there will be hemorrhage, and the blood will be released. The blood will be released into the lungs, into the alveoli, and the RBC will release hemosiderin pigment. And this hemosiderin pigment is brownish in color. This pigment will be taken up by the macrophages in the lungs, and the macrophages will have a brown pigment. And those macrophages which ingest this brown pigment, hemosiderin pigment, they are called as a heart failure cell. So you should remember, heart failure cells are present in the lungs. They are not present in the heart, but they are due to heart failure. Okay, they are due to heart failure. So the heart failure cells are the macrophages which digest the RBC and have hemosiderin pigment. So here you can see, this is the diagram. You can see these are the alveoli. Okay, these are the alveoli. These are the alveoli, and these are the blood vessels. You can see these are the blood vessels in the wall of the alveoli. They are congested. So you can see a lot of RBC. Okay, if the blood vessels are congested too much, what will happen? The blood vessel, if congested too much, the RBC will be released into the alveoli, and they will be taken up by the macrophages, and they will have the pigment hemosiderin. So here you can see this is the alveoli, and here you can see this macrophages. See here in this area, I will show you. See, these are the alveoli. Okay, these are the alveoli, and this is the blood. So in this here you can see here. These are the brown pigment. Okay, these are the macrophages which contain brown pigment. Okay, so this is the hemosiderin pigment. Okay, this is the hemosiderin pigment, which you can see this brown color. Okay, the macrophages with a brown pigment. These large macrophages with a brown pigment. You can see the macrophages with a brown pigment. So all these macrophages, they contain the RBC, which has the hemosiderin pigment, and this is called as the heart failure cell, and they are present in the chronic passive congestion of the lung. Now liver, blood collects in the liver when there is right side heart failure, because you know, when the right heart fails, it will not pump the blood into the lungs, and the blood will be collected behind into the inferior vena cava and into the liver. So the two causes of chronic venous congestion of the liver will be the right-sided heart failure and also occlusion of the inferior vena cava or the portal vein. So if there is venous obstruction, inferior vena cava, and the right side heart failure, the blood will collect in the liver, and it will cause the chronic venous congestion of the liver. And in this case, the liver will have a nutmeg appearance. Nutmeg appearance means alternate dark and light areas. Okay, so it will have alternate dark and light areas, because some areas will be congested and some areas will be necrosis because of injury. Okay, some areas will be red and some areas will be yellow. So that is called the nutmeg liver, and that is seen in chronic venous congestion of the liver. So if you see the microscopy, the liver will have this hexagonal lobule. It will have lobules in the form of hexagon, and here will be the central vein. Okay, around the central vein, this area is called the centrilobular. In the mid, it is called the midzonal, and in the periphery, it is called the periportal. So what will happen if there is congestion? All the deoxygenated blood will collect in this vein, and all the cells in this area will die, and this is called the centrilobular necrosis. So all these areas will die, and they will be centrilobular necrosis, because deoxygenated blood is collecting into the liver. So you can see the blood fills up the central vein, okay, and sinusoids and around it, and it will be followed by centrilobular hepatocyte necrosis. So the cells around the central vein, that is the centrilobular cells, will die, and it will undergo necrosis. After some time, the necrotic cell will be replaced by fibrous tissue. So the liver will have two different areas. One area will have a lot of blood, that it will appear reddish in color, and the area of fibrosis will appear whitish or yellowish, and this will give a nutmeg appearance like this. You can see this is a nutmeg. This is the dry fruit nutmeg. So the liver will have this appearance. It will have you can see alternate light areas and alternate dark areas and alternate light areas. So here also you can see the yellow areas. The yellow areas are the areas of necrosis and fibrosis, and the red areas are the areas which are having blood. Okay, so this is called as the nutmeg liver, where there is chronic venous congestion of the liver, where there is alternate dark and dark red and yellow areas. The yellow areas are the areas of necrosis where the cells have died and there is fibrosis, and the red areas are where there is collection of the blood. So alternate red and yellow areas. This is called as the nutmeg liver. It is seen in chronic venous congestion of the liver, and it is seen in case of right side heart failure and occlusion of the inferior vena cava. Here you can see the microscopy, these cells are dying. Again, you can see this hemosiderin pigment, because the hemosiderin pigment is digested by the macrophages. So this area has died, and these are the normal liver cells. Okay, these cells have not died. Okay, so these are the normal liver cells, but this area, the cells have died. The cells have undergone necrosis. Now hemorrhage. Okay, now we have finished hyperemia and we have finished congestion also. Okay, so now we will do hemorrhage. Okay, what is hemorrhage? Hemorrhage, whenever the blood comes out of the blood vessel, the blood is usually in the blood vessels. Okay, it doesn't come outside the blood vessel. Even in hyperemia and congestion, the blood is still there in the blood vessel. Only thing is that the blood vessels are dilated, but the blood is still in the blood vessel. When the blood comes out of the blood vessel, okay, when the blood comes out of the blood vessel, it is called as hemorrhage. And what is the most important cause? Trauma, trauma, accidents, there is a lot of bleeding outside. The blood comes out, out of the blood vessel, and that is the trauma, vascular injury. So this is very important cause when there is hemorrhage, the blood comes out of the blood vessel. Then even in congestion, whenever there is congestion, is a collection of lot of deoxygenated blood in the blood vessel. When the congestion is more, when the congestion is becoming very more, what will happen? The blood vessel will dilate, and ultimately it will rupture. Okay, it will break because it also has a capacity to store the blood. But if the congestion is too much, if the lot of blood, deoxygenated blood is collecting in the blood vessel, ultimately it will rupture and the blood will be released outside. So that is hemorrhage can occur in congestion also. Okay, also in injury and trauma, and also in coagulation disorder like hemophilia. Hemophilia you will learn afterward. So in that case, whenever there is the clotting factor is deficient, there will be hemorrhage. Okay. Now hemorrhage. Okay, interstitial hemorrhage. Now interstitial hemorrhage. Now whenever there is hemorrhage outside the blood, inside the tissue or into the skin, whenever the blood collects inside the tissue, the blood comes out of the blood vessel and it is collecting inside the tissue. Okay, that time when the blood is collecting inside the tissue, it is called as a hematoma. Okay, it is called as a hematoma. Then petechiae, when only 1 to 2 millimeter hemorrhages, 1 to 2 millimeters small dots of red hemorrhages are seen into the blood, very tiny, like tiny points are seen into the skin. Very tiny hemorrhages are seen on the skin. That is called the petechiae. Okay. Then purpura. Purpura is slightly larger. It is slightly bigger than petechiae. It is 3 to 5 millimeter dark red spots which are seen on the skin, and it is called as the purpura. Okay. Slightly larger 3 to 5 millimeter hemorrhages which can be seen in the skin. Okay. And ecchymosis. Ecchymosis are bruises. Bruises, dark blue color. Whenever the patient is having, injury, he gets a large blue color hemorrhage on the skin. So that is a larger 1 to 2 centimeter areas of hemorrhage. That is called the ecchymosis. So you should remember hematoma. Hematoma is just collection of blood into the tissue. Hemorrhage is just collection of blood into the tissue. Petechiae, very small hemorrhages, 1 to 2 millimeter on the skin. Purpura slightly larger, 3 to 5 millimeter hemorrhages onto the skin, and ecchymosis, large bruises, large 1 to 2 centimeter bruises which are seen on the skin. So these are the various types of hemorrhage. Then hemorrhage into the body cavities. Okay, hemorrhage into the body cavities. What will happen in hemorrhage in body cavities? There is accumulation. There are many cavities in our body, like pericardial cavity. Around the heart there is pericardial cavity. In the peritoneum, in the abdomen there is peritoneal cavity. In the thorax, around the lung there is a hemothorax or there is a pleural cavity. Okay, in the joint there is a cavity which is around the cartilage, articulocartilage. So what can happen in the blood can also accumulate in these cavities. When it accumulates in the pleural cavity, it is called as the hemothorax. Around the lung, when it accumulates around the heart, it is called as the hemopericardium. When blood is collecting in the peritoneum, it is called as the hemoperitoneum. And when the blood is collecting in the joints, it is called as the hemarthrosis. Okay. So what will happen, when there is a lot of hemorrhage in this tissue, then the patient can suffer from jaundice. Jaundice means, what is jaundice? Can you tell me what is jaundice? Any one of you? What is jaundice?
Yellowish appearance.
Yes, yellowish appearance. Yes. Why there is yellowish appearance? Because when there is a lot of hemorrhage, the RBC will, there is breakdown of RBC, because hemorrhage, the blood has RBC, red blood cell. So red blood cell will be break down, and they will release bilirubin. This bilirubin is yellow in color, and that's why this yellow color, it will lead to jaundice. So you should remember, when the patient is having a lot of hemorrhage inside the body cavity, this hemorrhage, the red blood cell inside the hemorrhage will break down. It will release bilirubin. Okay, and bilirubin will cause jaundice. Now, external hemorrhage. This is internal hemorrhage. Internal hemorrhage means within the body. Okay, this is also within the body only, within the tissue. This is within the body. And outside hemorrhage. Now the blood is coming outside the body. Okay, so what is it called? When the blood is coming out of the nose, sometimes there is bleeding from the nose. You get bleeding from the nose. That is called as the epistaxis. Okay, epistaxis is bleeding coming out of the nose. Then lungs. If hemoptysis, when the patient coughs, when the patient coughs, and in the cough there is blood coming out. Okay, so that blood is coming out from the lungs, because when we cough, okay, when we sputum is there, when we cough, there is sputum. The sputum is coming from the lung. So when in the sputum, when we cough and there is blood coming out, it is called as hemoptysis. When the patient is vomiting, vomiting, and there is blood is coming out, so that is called as hematemesis. When the patient is vomiting and the blood is coming out, that is called as the hematemesis. Sometimes when the patient is passing blood in the stools, when the patient is passing blood in the stool, that is called as the melena. Okay, when it is blood in the stools. When the blood is there in the urine, red color urine is there, that is called as the hematuria. Okay, and when there is excessive bleeding from the vagina, okay, that is called as the menorrhagia. So these are the types of hemorrhage, outside hemorrhage, external hemorrhage, which is coming outside of the body. From the nose, it is called epistaxis. In cough, from the lung, it is hemoptysis. In vomiting, it is hematemesis. In the stool, it is called the melena. In the urine, if blood is there, it is called the hematuria. And from the vagina, if the bleeding is more, it is called the menorrhagia. Now, what are the effects of hemorrhage? Okay, very important effects of hemorrhage. Okay, so what are the effects of hemorrhage? If lot of blood is lost from the body, what will happen? If loss of blood is lost, a lot of blood is lost from the body. Yes. Yes. Can you tell me? Okay, so you can, how much blood does your normal human body has? Okay, your normal person has 5 to 6 liters of blood. Okay, in our body there is 5 to 6 liters of blood. Okay, but suppose in accidents or some trauma, the blood is lost, so it will lead to shock. Okay, shock, hypovolemic shock. That is the blood in the body will become less. That is called the hypovolemic shock. So this chapter, this lecture will be taken up in I think Wednesday or Thursday. So you will learn about this shock, but you should remember this is due to loss of blood. Okay, like trauma or some loss of blood, it will cause shock. So whenever there is 20% loss of blood, it will cause shock. It is a very dangerous condition. 20% means, normally the person has 5 liters or 6 liters of blood. So even if 1 liter blood is lost, it will lead to shock. It is a very dangerous condition. Okay, so it is called a hypovolemic shock when when there is loss of blood from the body. Okay, the volume of loss of blood, it can lead to shock. Secondly, if there is bleeding, if there is hemorrhage into the important organ like the brain or the heart, these are the important organs. Brain and heart are the most important organs of the body. Brain and the heart. Okay, so if there is bleeding into the brain or the heart, then it can cause death, because these are important organs. Okay, so this is very important. If the site of hemorrhage is very important, if it is located in the brain or in the heart, then death can occur. Then if there is recurrent blood loss, if there is continuous bleeding from the body, like peptic ulcer, okay, like peptic ulcer or menstrual bleeding, and if there is continuous bleeding from the loss, what will happen? If there is a loss of iron, because RBC has iron, RBC has iron, and it will cause an iron deficiency anemia. You will learn this anemia in your second year when you will learn hematological system. Hematology, you will learn iron deficiency anemia, because when the RBC is lost, iron is lost. So these are the effects of hemorrhage. When a lot of blood is lost, it will lead to shock. If hemorrhage is in the important organ like brain and heart, it can cause death. And if there is continuous blood loss, it can lead to iron deficiency anemia. So I hope all of you have understood. Any questions? Okay.
Thank
Now
you.
I will just take the attendance. Please don't go. Okay. So you have any questions? Yes. Any questions you have?
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
If you have any question, you can tell me, okay? I hope I have taken attendance. Okay, fine. Okay, so I will end the meeting, okay? Thank you. I will upload this after. Now we have a second lecture in at I think 11 o'clock, right? Embolism. Okay?
Yes, yes, sir.
So inshallah, we will see you there.
Thank you.
Okay.